Rock. Row number 2, the first of the forwards, John Bow, Alan Jones. Row number 3, it's Neil Crompton and the Castrol pilot Russell Ingall. From row 4, let's hope he has better luck this time out for Glenn Seaton and Castrol Falcon driver Tony Longhurst. Rounding out the 10, a privateer row, Stephen Richards and the Alcare entry of Greg Crick.
And it's with deep regret that we must report the death of one of Australia's most liked and respected members of the Australian motor industry, Mr. Evan Green. In the early hours of Saturday morning, Evan succumbed to a very long and fearless battle with cancer. To his wife, Yolanta, his children and family, the Seven Network, and I'm sure anyone associated with motoring and motorsport, offer our sincere condolences.
Just about ready for the start of Heat 2. Who will it be, Lowndes or Brock into turn number 1? Green light, and it's the master on the outside. Peter Brock and teammate Young Gun, Craig Lowndes into turn number 1. The kid manages to scrape through. Brock right alongside, and there you see all 19 V8 touring cars contesting this round at Symmons Plains. Larry Perkins, a positive start. The Castrol entry moves up to occupy position 3, but it is Lowndes, winner of heat number 1, your current race leader. Brock, Perkins, Bow, Gardner, Seaton.
Well, the mobile HRT cars leapt off that grid side by side for a good 50 metres before Lowndes was able to get a little gap on Brock and cover his territory. Alan Jones missing from the grid just in those final minutes of the warm-up lap. He's headed into the pits and apparently out of the race. So a great disappointment for Pack Leader Racing. Jones set to leap from 4th position on the grid. So it's Lowndes, the destroyer from Heat 1, setting off in good form in Heat 2. Brock behind him. The Castrol Commodore. There's Crompton in the Coke car in car 7. And Seaton, a much better start in the Ford Credit Falcon. He's up in the top 5 as well.
And the big loser in the pack's really John Bow, who's been shuffled back a little bit off that start. Ingall seems to have got a great start, just edged out Crompton. But Glenn from the second row is also stood by John Bow.
So Crompton all over the back of the Castrol Commodore. Goes a run on the outside, very, very deep under brakes. Ingall's got the line into this corner. He may run Crompton wide onto the Armco. They're side by side as they come out. Seaton takes advantage too. So Ingall loses 2 positions in 1 manoeuvre. And Seaton now on the charge, tucks up behind the wing of the Coca-Cola Commodore as they head down the back straight once again. Ingall recovers, and you've got Bow coming up the inside. As we take race cam, Glenn Seaton right up behind Neil Crompton's Commodore as they head through Coca-Cola corner and back toward the pit straight. 1 lap down, this will be 2 down as they come across the line with Craig Lowndes well in control.
Certainly Lowndes and Brock already establishing a handy lead out front. That's the car of Neil Crompton, the Coca-Cola VR Commodore. We're riding with Glenn Seaton. I can tell you, right on the hammer of Seaton. There's the man, defending series champion John Bow. As Brad said, he was the big loser from the start. He was to start from position number 3. He's been relegated back to 5th on the circuit.
Come on the back straight once again. Seaton looking serious here. It's just as close to Crompton as they come through the sweeper toward Coca-Cola corner. Maximum braking from high speed, 240 kilometres an hour back for this very slow corner and pit straight. Big brake lock up from Crompton there. Seaton gets his wheel up on the curb strip as he tries to look down the inside of the Coca-Cola Commodore. And Bradley, looking at the back of that Coke car, is wobbling around a bit.
Certainly moving around a fair bit. What we need to keep in mind here is a lot of these people haven't had time to set their cars up for the circuit, of course, because the circuit was wet yesterday. But Neil's certainly got his hands full there. I notice it's burning up a tyre under brakes as well, which means that it's not stopping all that well at the end of the straight.
Big attack. Seaton, flames belching from the exhaust. He works back through the 6-speed transmission. Tries to close on Crompton. Crompton gets a good corner exit speed out of Brambles. Seaton goes with him. The Coca-Cola Commodore, well and truly a match in a straight line for the Falcon. We saw last time around a big brake lock up from the Coca-Cola Commodore as we take race cam once again aboard the Ford Credit Falcon. Crompton moves over to take up his line. There's a brake locking up in front of him too. That's Brock. So maximum pressure here for Neil Crompton. Glenn Seaton filling the mirrors of the Coke Commodore as they come onto pit straight once again. 4 laps completed for our race leader Craig Lowndes. Brock in second. Here's the battle for 3rd and 4th.
Once again we see the tail of the number 7 Coke Commodore out nice and wide. Midway through the corners, Neil Crompton a lot happier with was earlier in the day. Glenn Seaton has a peak on the outside. Not to be this time around. Will he duck back low? Yes, in fact, he tries that. That's where he had success earlier in passing Russell Ingall. They once again head down the back straightaway. Time to hit top gear, hit top speed on a very quick and uncompromising Symmons Plains circuit.
Well, he's picked a good car to draft behind Bradley Jones. There's no shortage of grunt from these Rob Benson Chevy V8s and the Coke cars.
So there's a little bit more of a brake lock up there. Crompton's using a maximum amount of road there to try and stay in front of Glenn, but there seems to be nothing between them as far as straight line speed is concerned.
So here's the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th. Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Falcon. He's got that very rapid private here. Stephen Richards before. Plenty of smoke coming from the back of the car as he brakes at turn 1. Up under the footbridge down toward Brambles once again.
Perkins, Longhurst, Richards, Gardner. There's Crick, Scaife and Johnson in arrears. So Larry Perkins, after a disappointing heat earlier on in the day.
There's Wayne Gardner ducking down the inside of Stephen Richards. He'd be on a charge, very pumped up. Steve comes back. He's not going to put up with that. So he gets an excellent run out of Brambles. They'll be side by side through the sweeper once again. Steve Richards in the ex-Freddie Gibson Motorsport Commodore. And they're side by side as they head down toward brakes. Gardner's got about a quarter of a car length in front, but Richards has a good line on the inside. Will Gardner try and squeeze them as they come through? Richards still alongside. Even side by side as they come back onto the pit straight once again. It's been going on for a few hundred metres now. But eventually Gardner just enough to sneak through on the inside.
That allowed Mark Scaife right up on the tail of young Stephen Richards. And Richards has got a big job in front of him because right behind Scaife is Dick Johnson.
Well, this is a really tight battle here. Mark Scaife will be all pumped up. That accident with Gardner in the first heat. Furious when he got out of the car, throwing his helmet on the ground. Very, very upset. As you imagine Gardner probably was too. And nothing fires a racing driver up, Brad, than something like that.
No, bit of swabbing paint. There's nothing worse.
There's Wayne Gardner leading this posse. He is position 9 on the racetrack and no doubt a very tired young man. He only arrived back from Japan on Friday where he was testing the Toyota Supra. Glenn Seaton, race cam. Looking out the front of the car, and there's Crompton. This battle has raged for the last couple of laps, and Neil holding on to a slender advantage.
Actually, I think Neil's doing a very good job here. Glenn was one of the few people that was capable of running in the 54s in the earlier race, as well as Craig Lowndes, and Neil's just holding him up nicely.
And here comes down the inside John Bow. And Dick Johnson, his car 17, tries to get a run up the inside of Stephen Richards' Valvoline Commodore. Gets a little bit left behind as they get the power down out of Brambles. And yes, plenty of speed. The Valvoline Cummins Commodore. This is a great run for the privateer. Currently running in 11th position. And top place privateer. All level 1 teams ahead of him. Dick Johnson, hard at work in Shell 17. We take Dunlop Race Camp. This veteran of touring car racing, hard at work around Symmons Plains Raceway. There's Steve Richards just up ahead of him. Another lock brake. He's been doing that the last few laps, Brad.
Well, the car's an ex-Gibson Motorsport car, and if he set the thing up similar to Scaife makes them so they power down really, really well. But the car seems to be a little unbalanced coming into the braking area, and hence locking a wheel every now and again.
So we've got battles going up and down the field. This one's a corker. It's been going for quite a while. Seaton very quick out of Brambles that time. He's not quite fast enough to get upside Crompton through the sweeper, but he'll have another attack under brakes. Crompton right in the middle of the road, not giving Seaton any options. Seaton up on the ripple strip, very, very close to the back of the Coke Commodore. Terrific battle this for 3rd and 4th position. Crompton hanging on 55-7.
Good clean racing. There's been a few places where Seaton perhaps could have been excused for diving in a little quick, but he's got a lot of respect for not only his vehicle but for Neil Crompton's, and it's all clean thus far.
Glenn looks to be carrying a little bit more speed across the corner, but he's not braking any later than Crompton. He's certainly not being able to get on the power or have any more straight line speed, so it'll be very frustrating for Glenn. About now is where he's carrying the more speed. You can see that he's trying to duck to the inside there to get up the inside of Neil, but he just can't do it. So it's pretty frustrating where he is. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully tyre wear will play a big part in this.
This is the battle for third. There is your race leader. The driver's name is Craig Lowndes. He's dominating today here at Symmons Plains. Peter Brock currently runs second. Neil Crompton third. Glenn Seaton fourth. And car number one, John Bowe, rounds out your five.
Here's this great battle continuing for third and fourth position between Neil Crompton in the Coca-Cola Commodore, car number 7, and car 30, Glenn Seaton, the Ford Credit Falcon. They've been going at it hammer and tongs, lap after lap. Crompton covering his territory very effectively. Seaton not quite enough squirt in a straight line or under brakes to be able to make a move on the Coca-Cola driver. Terrific racing as they start to pick their way through the slower traffic.
And Glenn's got his headlights on to let Neil know. He's had him on for a couple laps now, letting Neil know that he's having a go. And I think Neil's fairly aware of that, and he's just turned his on as well. So they're both certainly at it.
And what that'll be the idea as they come up through the slower traffic, it gives the slower guys a chance to pick them up in the rear view.
Basically it is, yeah. And when they first come on, it's you tend to look in the mirror and it's like a signal that you're holding me up a little bit, but there obviously doesn't seem to be too much between these two. I'm very impressed with Neil's drive here. I think he's doing a great job. He's covering the road nicely, but they're still carrying a lot of speed. Their lap times are very competitive, and they seem to be doing very well.
Well, Lowndes the fastest man so far in this race, a 54.59, which he put in on the third lap. He's fallen back into the 55s with the rest of the crew, but he's still consistently half a second faster than Brock, with this battle a little bit further behind. So Lowndes absolutely streeting the field as he did in Heat 1. He's had the same sort of clean up in Heat 2. Under brakes for Coca-Cola corner. Crompton covers his territory right up the middle of the road. As we take race cam again, you're riding with Glenn Seaton in the heat of this action. Back toward pit straight once again. 12 laps completed for our race leader in this 21 lapper.
Glenn Seaton a little disappointed with his qualifying performance. Just said in the rain he simply couldn't get a free run.
Well, we've got one battle on the field, that all the way up and through the field. This is a bit further back. Scaife up behind Tony Longhurst. This is the battle for 9th and 10th position. Scaife copying that damage in that first heat as he had to withdraw from the race. There's a huge cloud of smoke there. I think one's gone up the escape road. You could just say, I think it's one of the Castrol Commodores. So maximum braking coming down to Brambles hairpin. Someone's paid the price there. Here's the battle. Scaife trying to climb his way a bit further into the top 10. Longhurst in 9th, Scaife in 10th. It's Russell Engel who's gone up the escape road. He hasn't quite made it to the sand bunker, so he's pulled it up just in time, but there was an enormous cloud of smoke there. And Scaife down the inside, just as we cut away to Russell Engel's dilemma. Scaife, a very tidy move up the inside of Longhurst. And by the look of those times, Bradley, I think Tony may be fading a little bit.
Well, it's a pretty tough act. I mean, Tony's had 1 year, and when you're running a car and trying to get all the things going, it's just not easy. And unfortunately today he's not quite on the pace. But here's Scaife. As you can see, it's a very close position to the wheel where he sits, and a lot of his arm work is done on the lower part of the wheel. You watch, he comes in the corner, his arm will just go over the top. You wouldn't want much more lock than that.
It's fantastic to watch it work. He's really active in the car. Bang, up to 4th. Building up toward 225, 240k up to 5th. You think he just grabs 6th just as he comes up through the rise.
You notice that his left leg's working on the clutch, but his right foot isn't. He just keeps it flat, gives that clutch a dab as he goes up through the gears, and away he goes. The other thing you might have noticed there was he gives a brake a tad of a touch just before he brakes.
Well, there's our race leader, Lowndes, just disappearing out of shot. 4.8 seconds, the gap. That's been maintained for a number of laps ahead of teammate Peter Brock. Here come the Light Brigade. Crompton under attack from Seaton. That hasn't relented at all. Then we've got John Bowe, Larry Perkins. His teammate Engel just disappeared up the escape road. Gardner coming back in 7th position. Here's 8th, Scaife. 9th is Longhurst. And 10th, Dick Johnson. And then there's this great battle amongst the privateers. Steve Richards, Greg Crick, and I think it's Stephen Ellery in the Chelgrave Ford. So battles raging right up and down through the field.
Some of the privateers have put in some outstanding showings so far in the 1996 Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, and Symmons Plains is to be no different. Stephen Richards in the Valvoline Rogers Racing entry. Gregory Crick, a local. Stephen Ellery in the number 52 car. Trailing these two top privateers, and really, Brad, there hasn't been a lot in the privateer category all year.
Well, it's just like the factory cars at the front of the field. There's nothing between them, and Stephen's doing a great job in that car. It's the ex-Longhurst car, and if you look at the difference between Longhurst and where he is in the race, there's probably only 4 or 5 grid positions and not that much actual time in lap time. So he's coming to grips with the Falcon and doing a very, very good job.
Well, this man just ahead of him, Greg Crick in the Alcare Commodore. These two, Crick and Ellery, are battling for the honours in the Auto Action Privateers Cup this year. They're locked together, very close on points. This is only round 4 of the championship, a long way to go. So it really is a battle between Ford and Holden for the privateer teams as well. They do it on a shoestring budget, but the cars are always beautifully presented. And we said earlier today, closing the gap to the level 1 teams all the time. Meanwhile, this is the battle for 3rd and 4th, still raging. And I'm quite surprised Seaton hasn't been able to make a passing move on Crompton yet. It really does say something for Crompton's tyre choice and the conservative way he's driving the car.
Well, as I said to you before, if we watch them come down here, they're on the brakes now, they'll turn in. You'll see Glenn will make up a bit of time in the middle of the corner. He closes on Crompton now. Look at him there, catching him up quite easily, but they get to the point where they put the power down and there's really nothing between them. And that's the whole problem. Glenn not only needs to be able to carry more speed across the corner, but he needs to be able to either outbrake Neil coming into the corner or get on the throttle a touch earlier coming out. As it is, there's nothing between them in a straight line. And Glenn's just in a no-win situation at this time.
Times very consistent. Lowndes last lap across a 55.65. And these guys running in the 56-second bracket. So Lowndes in a class of his own, it seems, at the front of the field. This tremendous battle, Ford and Holden. Couldn't get 2 more evenly matched cars. Oh.
Well, I'd say at this point in time, Glenn's getting a little bit frustrated about the fact he can't get by Neil, but as you said, it's Ford, Holden, Dunlop, Bridgestone, and the Dunlops obviously are working quite well here. He's certainly, got the thing covered, and it's not sliding around too much, putting the power down nicely.
Well, Crompton will be pleased with this performance. He's had a pretty frustrating season so far. 5th at Eastern Creek, only 11th at Sandown. Another 5th position at Bathurst. 49 points coming into this championship, only 10th on the scale. So if he can get a little bit of a points haul here, it might move him right up the championship battle. Look how close Seaton gets there, but still nothing he can do about it.
It really doesn't get any better than this. V8 touring car action, Aussie style. Once again, this is the battle for 3rd place. You're watching Neil Crompton. There is the number 1 car, Shell FAI Falcon of John Bowe. He is currently position 5 on the track and about 3 seconds behind Glenn Seaton and Neil Crompton.
Should be throwing that around a bit, Brad.
He certainly is, and he's actually catching the other 2 a little bit because they're starting to drive Neil's starting to drive just a touch defensively, and so that's allowed Bowe to slowly close that gap up.
Well, it was a bit of a lottery for tyres. Except for that torrential rain during qualifying. It was all done on wet weather tyres. Had to pick their 2 dry weather sets, make a calculated guess on what would be right for the conditions. So it really may turn the championship a little upside down. Bowe came into this championship as the leader on points, currently running in 5th position with his closest man in points in 2nd, Lowndes, leading the race very comfortably ahead of Peter Brock. We'll take race cam. This battle has been going all race long. 19 laps completed for our race leader. So 2 left.
And it's down to the business end. How long will Glenn Seaton wait? How desperate will Glenn Seaton get? He is right on the hammer of Neil Crompton and has been, I guess, for the past 10 or so laps. But maybe his polite driving style is going to be thrown out the window over the next 3 or 4 kilometres as we near the end of heat number 2 here at Symmons Plains. This is where Brad has hinted that these Rob Benson engines that power the Coca-Cola Commodores really come into a class of their own.
Glenn Seaton just thinking ahead.
I don't think there's any doubting that the strongest cars in a straight line are probably the Brock cars. I mean, the mobile cars are very strong. The whisper in the pits is that with Craig's car, they've got a different manifold on it this weekend, and it's also different to the one they're running on the Brock car, but I'm not sure that that's a difference. Craig's obviously driving the car very well, and he's certainly got everyone else in the field covered quite well at the moment. He's got a very comfortable gap, and he's just basically cruising around waiting for the end of the race.
He's making this look very, very easy. He's destroyed the first heat. Now he's 7.6 seconds up on Brock in the second. So they can see there's just daylight between him and his teammate. Just Just a stroll on a Sunday afternoon.
Greg Lowndes has been averaging about half a second a lap faster than his nearest rival. And Lowndes now has only 2 corners to negotiate before the black and white falls, and his 100% record remains here at Symmons Plains. Final corner, checkered flag time, and Craig Lowndes is your winner. Car number 15. His teammate, the veteran in the very familiar 05 car, Peter Brock, takes out second, and the battle for third continues. It's Crompton from Seaton.
Ah, yes, he's doing it easy. Craig Lowndes, 2 from 2 at Symmons today. Peter Brock in second position. Neil Crompton, great drive that, under a lot of pressure, in third for Coca-Cola Racing. Glenn Seaton, Ford Credit Racing in fourth, and Johnny Bow in fifth position. Sixth with Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. Mark Scaife in seventh. Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Ford in eighth. In ninth, Wayne Gardner fighting his way back through the field, and rounding out the 10, Dick Johnson in the second Shell FAI Falcon. Don't go away. We'll be back with more from Symmons Plains in just a moment.